Hey there, guys. So today we have another review, and this is Alesmith Speedway Stout. This is a 12% coffee imperial stout brewed by them at around at 12% ABV. Sorry, yeah, 12%. There you go. Didn't have to say that twice. Anyway, this is a beer I've had a couple times. I'd say only a few times. Actually, I had it early on into my craft beer adventure to get into craft beer, and excited to sort of dig into this again. This is a beer that's widely distributed, it sits on the shelf for people that get distribution. There are also a good amount of variants of this beer. There's Kobe Luwak coffee, which is like that weasel coffee, the poop coffee you guys know about, Vietnamese coffee, and Jamaican blue coffee variants. There's also the bourbon barrel aged one. I've had the coffee variants. I haven't had the bourbon barrel aged variant of this. I'm also really excited to review this beer because it is an imperial stout after all. It's a non-barrel aged imperial stout. This year, with figuring out my palate, I've noticed that I have a slight, less desire to drink imperial stouts, bourbon barrel aged imperial stouts, and a slight more of a desire to drink regular imperial stouts. That's really interesting. I'm enjoying regular imperial stouts more. Huge love for that. And if you guys are curious of some of my favorites, Founders Imperial, 1050, Thirsty Dog Siberian Night, Cigar City Marshall Zhukov, Surly Darkness, Evil Twin Even More Jesus, highly underrated. If you're in New York, Grimm's Double Negative. There you go. If you guys watch the channel, you probably know I'm a huge fanboy of a bunch of those beers. But let's dig into this beer. So the beer pours out in a nice kind of color. Sorry if I messed another pour. I was sharing the bottle, but it pours out actually in like a lighter brown, so it's not like a oily. 1050 pours out like literally like motor oil. This had a light kind of brown color, but in the glass it is a dark black color with a nice kind of medium tan head. Let's get the aroma on this. I get a good kind of like a medium kind of roasted quality, but it has a big punch of this kind of umami, or it's a combination of umami, licorice, and molasses. There's this kind of note there that's like sort of generally hovering around this beer. Not a note you generally get in all your imperial stouts. I would imagine something like barrel aged, something like Boris or Doris from Hop and Frog sort of have those kind of notes. A little bit of chocolate, sort of like a milky kind of chocolate note, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of caramel. But yeah, in general, that kind of like, the spicy kind of licoricey kind of note, a little bit of that bitterness going on. Cheers. I will say immediately that the mouthfeel is not as ridiculous or not as, mouth coating as I would expect for 12%. At 12%, I want something a little bit more oily. I want to compare it to beers that are more popular. Something like 1050 or Founders Imperial are around 10.5% ABV. This getting that little bump at 12%, I want a little bit more chewiness and mouthfeel going on. Doesn't offer that. It drinks probably more towards a 9 to 10% kind of imperial stout. It's drinking in that style, but it does have that alcohol bump without the kind of mouthfeel and chewiness that I'm looking for. In the front, that same kind of note I was talking about. It's, less umami, more this kind of licoricey kind of bitterness going on. It's not offensive. If you're not into licorice, you're probably okay. But it does have this kind of, don't think of like fudge brownie when you think about this beer. Think about more of like a balanced kind of beer. So like if you want some hops in your densely chocolatey kind of imperial stout, then think of it that way. Up front you get that kind of big kind of bite of hops. It's reasonably medium plus kind of aggressiveness of the kind of bitterness and that kind of, again, licorice molasses kind of note. Good amount of milk chocolate in the mid palate. A little kind of the sweet cocoa kind of thing, a little bit of caramel, so like a sweet caramel cocoa candy kind of thing in the middle, which is really nice. It has a good, decent kind of mouthfeel, but it falls off on the back palate a little bit. On the back end, you get this kind of reasonable bitterness. It's almost like a caramel macchiato or something like that. Caramel macchiato. Think that. Think milk chocolate covered espresso beans. They sell those, and so you can eat those as candies, and it has that kind of flavor. Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, licorice, chocolate, a little bit kind of espresso bitterness on the back end, with a slightly disappointing kind of mouthfeel. This on Beer Advocate, actually on the on the finish is actually quite nice. You get a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of kind of milk chocolate creaminess that's sort of developing on the palate. Really quite nice. This beer, by the way, on Beer Advocate gets a 98. I would say it's a little bit below that. I do appreciate the other Imperial Stouts a little bit more. I'm just rating this beer for its 12%ness, if that makes any sense. I expect something a little bit more at 12%. I think the other beers sort of do a better job at a lower ABV, which is quite surprising. This beer for me, 96. There you go, 96. Yeah, very good stuff still. 96 is a really good score. But I do think there's reasonable difference between this kind of 98 to, when you're that high, 98 to 96, a little bit of a difference. So there you go. I will say that if you had the capability and really like Speedway Stout, you should probably get the variants, because I've had 3 of the coffee variants, and it is hugely impressive how much better those beers are than this. I had Vietnamese coffee very recently, and it is a killer beer. I mean, think Founders Breakfast Stout on steroids. It does not taste like this beer. I assume what they're doing is that they're selling this beer as a quote-unquote coffee stout, but it's just, just more like a standard Imperial Stout. And then the variants are really heavily coffeed. And that's my guess, but I want to say that's the case because having had 3 of the variants, they are so coffee forward, and it's delicious. It is like drinking sort of mocha stout. It is so absolutely delectable. So if you can get Jamaican blue coffee, Kopi Luwak coffee, or Vietnamese coffee Speedway Stout, then I recommend those. But they are trade beers and they're harder to get, and this beer is still fantastic by itself. So don't be scared if you think you're missing out. You're not really missing out that much, but it is interesting in my mind that the beers are so different. The variants, which are rare, brewery only releases, all that good stuff, whereas this is a shelf beer, all that good stuff. Until next time, guys, cheers. Let me know what you guys think about Alesmith Speedway Stout. Let me know if you've had any of the variants. I'm not very experienced about the variants, so let me know if you have any notes about the different variants and how they differ. I like them all from what I've had of them. And if you have any notes about the bourbon barrel aged Speedway Stout, I've yet to have that, and I'm really excited to try that. So until next time, guys, cheers. Later.